So, welcome to the video lecture series on antennas and wave propagation. Continuation with the previous lecture, now we are discussing how the antenna can be operated in n element antenna array can be operated in broadside and end fire cases. So, in the previous class we discussed about n element uniform linear array. So, n element uniform linear array means there are n number of antennas, those are placed with the uniform spacing, that means the spacing between the elements is same and all are identical elements. Suppose we are taking one dipole element, all the n elements are having the same characteristics. So, that is why it is called n element uniform array. So, these are the lecture contents. So, here we are discussing about, already in the previous class we discussed about n element linear array. Now, we are discussing about in this n element linear array, if the orientation of your elements are perpendicular to the axis, then it is called as a broadside array. Here in the end fire array also the elements are perpendicular, but the radiation is along the axis. That is the basic difference between broadside array and end fire array. So, in the broadside array, elements are perpendicular to the axis, but the radiation is in opposite to the axis. In the end fire case, elements are perpendicular to the axis, but the radiation is along the axis. So, this is what we are discussing in this topic. Once this topic is over, students will learn how to design an n element uniform array. Suppose n element means we can design our antenna from 2 to any number of elements, and after that if the element are in the broadside cases, then how the element will be designed, and how if the elements are in the end fire case, how the element array design will be there. So, this is what we are, as last class we discussed about n element uniform linear array. So, here n number of elements are there. In this n element elements, the distance between all the elements are same, and so this is the derivation of n element linear array. So, in the last class we discussed all these things, and finally we can conclude that the total resultant magnitude is for the n element array is E naught into sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2 into e power j n minus 1 by 2 into psi. So, this is your magnitude term and this is your phase term. So, this is the magnitude term and this is phase term. If you substitute psi is equals to beta d cos theta plus alpha. So, for broadside case this alpha is equals to 0, and for end fire case this alpha is equals to 180. So, based on this alpha we can decide our antenna is a broadside antenna or our antenna is a end fire antenna. So, before going to this, so actually this is the radiation pattern of your n element uniform array. So, this is the graph between the theta, that is the magnitude versus theta. So, this is theta axis and this is your magnitude. So, this lobe is called as main lobe, and here at this point and this point, so this is called null, and every point after when there is very low excitation, that point is called your null, and this is your first side lobe level and these are second side lobe level, like that. So, these are all the lobes. So, from this radiation pattern, so what we have to decide, if you want to find out the in which direction your orientation is there, and if in that direction the orientation of your excitation is there, so what is the directivity and gain of your antenna, and you have to find out where you are getting the null point and where. So, what is the side lobe levels, that means the level of your side lobe level, and also the second side lobe level, like that all the subsidiary maximas, that is side lobe levels we have to find out. So, what we have to find out, what is your direction of your major lobe So first we have to find out the direction of major lobe or main beam, and what is the amplitude of that main beam, and what is subsidiary lobes, that is side lobe levels, and where we are getting the nulls, and what is our directivity. These we should find for the number of elements of your array. So all these parameters we are calculating for broadside array as well as the end fire array. So the derivation of the resultant field for broadside case and end fire case both are same. So for broadside or end fire, the total resultant field, that is Et is equals to E naught into sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2 into e power j n minus 1 by 2 into psi. So this equation is common for both broadside and end fire cases. Both cases this is common, but only change is the psi value. If you want to substitute psi is equal to alpha is equals to, in this equation alpha psi is equals to beta d cos theta plus alpha. If you substitute alpha is equal to 0, so the entire all these parameters are belongs to broadside array. If you substitute alpha is equals to beta d or 180 degrees, then we can say all these parameters belongs to end fire case. So that's why we are not deriving the broadside array or end fire array resultant field, because it is common to all the fields. So we already desired that one. So this is uniform broadside array. So uniform means all the elements are having equal properties and the distance between all the elements also same. D is common to all the elements and they are showing all the equivalent properties. So this is broadside array. So what is broadside array? So suppose this is your axis. This is your axis of antenna, and these are your elements 1, 2, 3, 4. That means element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, and this is the separation between all the elements, that is D, like that. So here what is there? So all the elements are, the element positions are perpendicular to your axis, but your radiation pattern, this is your radiation pattern for a broadside array for 2 elements. So that is always perpendicular to the axis. So this is your major axis. That means the amplitude, the major lobe amplitude is always perpendicular to the axis of your antenna elements. So here we are considering the n number of identical radiators which will carry equal magnitude and equal phase. So here the maximum radiation always perpendicular to the axis of your array, So now we are not deriving this total radiation field equation for broadside array, but we have to derive the properties of broadside array. So what are those properties? So what is the direction of your major beam? What is the amplitude in that major beam direction? What is your side lobe levels? And where is the null position is there? And what is the directivity of your antenna? These parameters we should concentrate. So those are the properties for your broadside array. So first what we have to do is, what is the direction of your major lobe? First what we have to see that, what is the direction of your major lobe? So in broadside array, already we discussed that in broadside array the maximum radiation always perpendicular to the axis. The maximum radiation is always perpendicular to the axis, perpendicular to the axis. So that's why the condition for your maximum field at point P, psi is equals to x point P, psi is equals to 0, that is beta d cos theta. So why this beta d cos theta? Actually our psi expression is beta d cos theta plus alpha. So alpha is equals to 0 for broadside array, alpha is equal to 0 for broadside array. So if you substitute alpha is equal to 0, that's why your psi is equals to 0. So beta d, your phase angle psi is equals to 0, that is beta d cos theta plus alpha is equal to 0, so that is equals to 0. So from this beta d is, we are taking that side, that is also 0, so your cos theta is equals to 0. So that implies your theta is equals to cos inverse of 0, cos inverse of 0. When we are getting cos inverse of 0, at theta is equals to 90 degrees and theta d is equals to 270 degrees. So and this direction, so this is the direction of plus 90 degrees and minus 90 degrees, or it is 270 degrees. So to find out your major lobe, you equate your psi is equals to 0, that is beta d cos theta plus alpha is equals to 0. If you substitute alpha is equals to 0, then we can say that is a broadside array. So substitute alpha is equal to 0 and equate the terms, and finally we get theta is equals to cos inverse of 0. So that is equals to 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees. So that is the direction of your major lobe, that is the direction of your major lobe. Next, what is the magnitude of major lobe in that direction, that is at 90 degrees and 270 degrees, what is the magnitude of your major lobe? So the maximum radiation occurs, when the maximum radiation occurs when your psi is equals to 0, that means your beta d cos theta is equal to 0. So to find out your major lobe, so where major lobe is equals to magnitude of total magnitude by that particular signal magnitude E naught. So is equals to limit psi tends to 0 d by d of d psi sin psi n psi by 2 by sin d by d psi of sin psi by 2. So limit psi tends to 0. So what is this d by d of something sin theta is equals to cos n psi by 2 into the magnitude term n psi by 2. Here for d by d psi of sin psi by 2 is equals to cos psi by 2 and cos psi by 2. If you substitute psi is equals to 0 in this expression and in this expression, it will comes 1. So from this, if you substitute that 1, so what will happen? So this becomes n psi by 2 by psi by 2. So because if you substitute limit psi tends to 0 here, this becomes 1 and this becomes 1, and finally we got the terms sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2. So psi by 2 cancel, your maximum major lobe is equals to n. So which indicates the total number of elements, n is equals to total number of elements. So the total fields is equal to n times of your individual fields in the direction of theta is equals to 90 degrees or theta is equals to 270 degrees. So what we are doing to find out the magnitude of your major lobe? We are just taking the limit psi tends to 0 and we are doing the derivation of your whatever terms are we are getting in the total field, that is sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2. So derivative of sin psi n psi by 2 is cos n psi by 2 into the magnitude term n psi by 2, and here cos psi by 2 by cos psi by psi by 2. So if you substitute the limit psi tends to 0, then this becomes 1, cos n psi by 2 is equals to 1 and cos psi by 2 is equals to 1, and from this we are getting n psi by 2 by psi by 2, both psi by 2 gets cancelled, your magnitude of major lobe is n. So your total field is equals to n times of the individual fields in the direction of that means major lobe, nulls. So when we are getting nulls, so what is null? What is null? So actually this is your major lobe, this is your major lobe, and this is your first side lobe level, actually first side lobe level. So the end of the major lobe and the starting of the minor lobe, here the strength of your signal is very low, that means almost null, almost null. So the end of your major lobe and the starting of your first side lobe level, the signal strength is null. So to find out your null, what we have to do is, previous case we find out the magnitude of your major lobe, now that magnitude is equals to 0. So to find the direction of minima or null, equating the ratio of magnitude of the fields to 0. So sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2 is equals to 0. So for the condition of minima or null is sin psi by 2 is equals to 0, but we never say that sin psi by 2 is equals to 0. This condition we have to remember it, keep in mind. So from this equation, so what we are doing, sin n psi by 2 is equals to sin inverse of 0. When we are getting sin inverse of 0, it is in the 0 or 180 or 360 cases. So that's why this becomes plus or minus m pi, plus or minus m pi. So in this equation where m is equals to 1, 2 or 3, and you substitute psi is equals to beta d cos theta in this expression, beta d cos theta in this expression. So this expression becomes n by 2 into beta, means beta we know that 2 pi by lambda. So 2 pi by lambda into d into cos theta minimum, because we are finding the nulls, that's why it is taken as theta minimum is equals to plus or minus pi. So this 2 and this 2 gets cancelled, and this pi and this pi gets cancelled, and from this theta minimum, cos theta minimum is equals to, you take all this term to right side, so this is plus or minus m into nd by lambda. So theta minimum is equals to, so here what we are writing, nd by lambda, that is from this expression we can say theta minimum is equals to plus or minus m into lambda by nd. So this is the minimum, that is the minima or null expression. Suppose if you want to find out how many nulls are there, you substitute m is equal to 1, m is equal to 2, like that you can substitute different values of m, then we can find different nulls in different positions. So what we are doing to find out the nulls, so we are equating the magnitudes to 0, and after that magnitude is 0, so what we are doing, sin n psi by 2 is equals to 0, and substitute psi is equals to beta d cos theta in this expression, and finally psi, that is sin n psi by 2 is equals to sin inverse of 0, that is equals to plus or minus m pi. So substitute psi value here and see that, find out the theta minimum, that is cos inverse of plus or minus m lambda by nd. Suppose if you substitute m is equal to 1, m is equal to 2, m is equal to 3, like the different m values you can get different minima conditions. Next, subsidiary maximas or side lobe levels, subsidiary maximas or side lobe levels. So if this is your main beam and these are your side lobe levels, so this is the major beam or where your maximum signal is in this direction, that is your main beam, and it is having maximum amplitude, major lobe, and these are all the side lobe levels, side lobe levels. By the position we can say that it is the first side lobe level, second side lobe level, third, fourth, up to how many lobes are there, we can say defined on that. So to find out the direction of side lobe levels, what we have to do is, your sin n psi by 2 is equals to plus or minus 1. So that is also, actually it shows when you are saying that is also maxima condition, that's why sin n psi by 2 is equals to, sin n psi by 2 is equals to plus or minus 1. So from this we are saying that sin n psi by 2 is equals to, so where we are getting n psi by 2 is equals to sin inverse of plus or minus 1, where when we can get our plus or minus 1 for 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and for 180 degrees, and for 270 degrees, like that we can get our sin n psi by 2 is equal to sin inverse of 1. So n psi by 2 is equals to, here we are eliminating one condition, that is pi by 2 condition, plus or minus pi by 2 condition. Why? Why? Because that is the direction of your maxima, that is the direction of maxima. So this is the direction of your maxima, that is at 90 degrees, and side lobe levels are away from your 90 degrees, not in the direction of 90 degrees. That's why this case is eliminated here. This case is eliminated here. So that's why sin n psi by 2 is equals to, actually n psi by 2 is equals to plus or minus m pi by 2. If you substitute 1, that is pi by 2. If you substitute 2, it is 3, it is, sorry, this is not case, plus or minus 2n plus 1 into pi by 2, 2n plus 1 into pi by 2. So at this condition, 0 condition, that means it comes 3 by 2, and it pi by 2, if it is n is equal to 1, it is 3 pi by 2, n is equal to 2, it is 5 pi by 2. So that's why if the direction of 9 by 2 is, that is pi by 2 is equals to, there is a maximum direction, that's why we are eliminating that condition, and remaining condition we are written like this, n psi by 2 is equals to plus or minus 3 pi by 2, plus or minus 5 pi by 2, and plus or minus 7 pi by 2. So what we are doing, just we are saying that if you want to find out the subsidiary maximas, so you equate sin n psi by 2 is equals to plus or minus 1, after n psi by 2 is equals to sin inverse of plus or minus 1, so that is 2n plus 1 into pi by 2, and for n is equal to 0, you are getting pi by 2. But pi by 2 condition is for the maxima condition, that's why we are eliminating that condition and we are written remaining conditions. So we are not considering this case, so that's why sin n psi by 2 is equals to 1, because if sin n psi by 2 is equal to plus or minus 1 is not considered, because n psi by 2 is equals to, we are saying that pi by 2, then sin n psi by 2 is equals to 1. So that's why we are skip that condition, then the principal maxima is equals to, we are all these 2's are gets cancelled, so your psi is equals to plus or minus 3 pi by n, comma, plus or minus 5 pi by n, comma, plus or minus 7 pi by n. So this is your condition where psi is equals to 3 pi by n, 5 pi by n, and 7 pi by n. So but substitute psi is equals to beta d cos theta. So psi is equals to beta d cos theta, where beta is equals to 2 pi by lambda into d cos theta is equals to plus or minus 3 pi by something. So here we are written that, so take these terms into right side. So cos theta is equals to lambda by 2 pi by d into plus or minus 2m plus 1 into pi by n, where m is equals to starting from 1, m is equals to starting from 1. So here again pi and pi gets cancelled, and your theta is equals to cos inverse of plus or minus lambda into 2m plus 1 into by 2d n. So this is the condition for your subsidiary maxima and or side lobe levels. If you substitute different m values and different n values and different d values, you can get the different side lobe levels at different positions. And beam width. So we know that what is beam width? Our beam width or first null beam width. Suppose this is your major beam. The point here we are saying that first null. These are one null and this is another null. So the angular difference between these 2 points, is called first null beam width. The angular difference between these 2 points is called first null beam width. Or if you taken at the point 3 dBp, so your maximum value is 0 dB, So from that you draw a line at 3 dB and see that the angular difference between these 2 points is called half power dBV. So your first null D beam width is equals to actually 2.25 into half power beam width, but in the maximum cases we are saying that that is 2 into half power beam width, half power beam width. So that is what the definition of your beam width. So it is the angular between the first 2 nulls, and alternatively they also define the angle equal to the twice the angle between the first null and the major lobe and major beam major lobe maximum direction. So we are saying that first null beam width is equals to 2 into zeta, where zeta is equals to 90 minus theta. That is what we are saying. So that is the angle equal to the twice the angle between the first null, that means this point first null, and the major lobe maxima direction. This is the direction of your maxima. So your maxima direction is 90 and this is the first null direction is some theta. So that's why your alpha zeta is equals to 90 minus theta. But we know the minima condition, theta minimum is equals to cos inverse of plus or minus m lambda by nd, m lambda by nd. So if you substitute alpha is equals to 90 minus theta minimum, then you can get, so here 90 minus zeta is equals to cos inverse of plus or minus m lambda by nd, that is theta minimum. Theta minimum, we know the expression, this is the expression for theta minimum is equals to 90 minus zeta. So what we are taking, 90 minus zeta is equals to your cos inverse of m lambda by nd. Take the cosine term, the cos term both sides, then what will happen? Cos of 90 minus theta is zeta is equals to cos of cos inverse of plus or minus m lambda by nd. So cos of 90 minus zeta is sin zeta and cos of cos inverse is, that means though both cancel, that is plus or minus m lambda by nd. So from this, if you take, if zeta value is very small, because it is 90 minus something, so that value is very small, so that's why we are taken in place of sin zeta, it is equals to zeta, that is equals to plus or minus m lambda by nd, m lambda by nd. So that is the beam width expression. So to find out the first null, what we are doing is, in that expression we are placing m is equal to 1. So we, from this expression what we are saying that zeta is equals to m lambda by nd. So in this expression, if you substitute m is equals to 1, then it becomes zeta is equals to lambda by nd, and your first null beam width is equals to always 2 into zeta, that is equals to 2 into n lambda by 2 into lambda by nd. So what is this nd? What is this nd? So we know that n is equals to number of elements and d is equals to spacing or spacing between the elements. So suppose we are saying that this is n element array, element 1, element 2, element 3, like that it is element n, and the spacing between each element is d. So what is the multiplication of these two? N into d is called your total array length, where L is equals to nd, L is equals to nd, and we can write that for large arrays L is equals to, that is n minus 1 into d also. So from this we substitute that first null beam width is equals to 2 into zeta, that is 2l by lambda, that means here see this 2 lambda by L is your nd in the radians, So if you want to find out this radians in terms of degrees, so 1 radian is equals to 57.3 degrees, 57.3 degrees. So from this what we are writing, so 2 lambda by L, that is 2u by L by lambda into radians. So if you convert in degrees, what will happen? So 2 into your radians means 57.3, that is 114.6 into lambda by L, or 114.6 by L by lambda in degrees. So this is first null beam width. This is first null beam width. If you want to find out the half power beam width, then that is half power beam width is equals to first null beam width by 2. So then this becomes 57.3 by L by lambda, or that is equals to 1 by L by lambda. So this is the two expressions for, this is for first null beam width and this is for half power beam width. So first null beam width is equals to 114.6 by L by lambda in degrees, and half power beam width is equal to 57.3 L by lambda in degrees. So next important parameter is directivity. So the directivity and your maximum beam radiation, maximum beam direction. Actually in that what is directivity? So directivity, in which direction you are having your maximum field strength, or maximum strength is called your directivity. So how we can define the directivity? So directivity D is equals to ZD max, that is the maximum directive gain, is equals to maximum radiation intensity by average radiation intensity. So U max by U average. So where U max by U naught. So how we can find out the average radiation intensity is equals to the radiated power by 4 pi, radiated power by 4 pi. So that is equals to 1 by 4 pi into integration of 0 to pi is equal to 0 to 2 pi and theta is equal to 0 to pi, and this is the power term into sin theta d theta d5. So power P average, that is P radiated power, P of U of theta is equal to into sin theta d theta d5. So in the previous expressions we written PD of theta comma phi into sin theta d theta d5. But we know that the ratio of magnitudes, that is the magnitude of major lobe is E of theta by, that is modulus of E theta by E naught is equals to n. And for the normalized condition, we know that E naught is equals to 1, then your total radiation field is equals to, in terms of magnitude, is n. So the field from array is maximum in any direction when psi is equals to 0. So hence the normalized radiation pattern is equals to the total radiated field in the particular direction by the maximum field of your theta in that particular direction. So we know that Et is equals to modulus of E theta, modulus of E naught by n into E naught, that is 1 by n. So your normalized field pattern is equals to 1 by n times of sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2. So this is the equation for array factor, So the array factor of n elements is equals to, E is equals to 1 by n times of sin n psi by 2 by sin psi by 2. If you substitute psi is equals to beta d cos theta, then this expression becomes 1 by n into sin n beta d cos theta by sin beta d cos theta by 2. So as d is very small as compared with the total length of your array, suppose your spacing is very small when we compared with the total length of the array, that is nd, then we can say that sin beta d cos theta by 2 is approximately equals to beta d cos theta. So this is for your small length of array antennas. So sin beta d cos theta by 2 is equals to beta d by cos theta by 2. So for you substitute this expression in this equation, then it becomes E is equals to 1 by n into sin n by 2 n beta d cos theta by 2 by beta d cos theta by 2. So you know that U naught is equals to, that means average power density U naught is equals to 1 by 4 pi into pi of theta is equals to 0 to 2 pi and theta is equals to 0 to pi, and this is your E of theta whole square. The previous expression, this is written as U naught is equals to E of theta whole square sin theta d theta d phi. So in this expression you substitute E is equals to 1 by n into this sin n beta d cos theta by 2 into beta d cos theta by 2. Then this becomes sin naught is equals to 1 by 4 pi into integral 0 to pi d. So you separate the whatever derivative terms are there. So this is belongs to pi and this is belongs to theta, and from this you can get 1 by 4 pi into phi is equal to 0 to 2 pi d phi is equals to 2 pi into this whole term. What I am doing is I am taking this term z is equals to n beta d cos theta by 2. Z is equals to I am taken z is equals to n beta d cos theta by 2. So that substitute this in this expression. So then what we are getting, psi u naught is equals to 1 by 4 pi into 2 pi into integration of theta is equal to 0 to pi sin z by z whole square into sin theta d theta. Now what I am taking after this, I am finding out the dz. So they differentiate both sides with respect to d, then dz is equals to n beta d. So integration of sin theta is cos theta is equal to sin theta by 2 into d theta, by 2 into d theta. So from the further expressions what we are saying that, so sin theta d theta is equals to minus dz by n by 2 beta d. If you substitute theta is equals to 0, then z is equals to n by 2 beta d. If pi is equal, theta is equal to pi, z is equals to minus n by 2 beta d. So what we are doing here, so all the terms are, the major terms are belongs to z, but in the previous expression our derivative part is with respect to theta. Now what I am doing is I am converting all the theta terms to z. So that's why z is equals to something is there, I am derivating with respect to z in the left side and with respect to theta in the right side, and after that all the theta terms will be converted into z terms. And now I am substituting here, so rewriting the above equation, theta naught u naught is equals to 1 by 2 into, so your z is equals to theta is equal to 0 means this one, 0 to pi means 0 is n by 2 beta d, and pi is equals to theta is equal to pi, that is minus n by 2 beta d. So into sin z by z whole square into, so d theta is equals to dz by minus n by 2 beta d. If you take the term minus outside and if any cancellations are there, we will done it. So that is u naught is equals to minus n by n beta d into n by 2 beta d minus integration of minus n by 2 beta d into sin z by z whole square dz. So for large arrays, that means n is very large, this n beta d is very large, and assume that that value is equals to infinite. So our integration terms are changed to u naught is equals to minus 1 by n beta d into integration of infinity to minus infinity sin z by z whole square into dz. So if you rearranging the limits, then u naught is equals to this, because of this minus we are not getting here because we are interchanging the integration terms. So 1 by n beta d is equals to minus infinity to plus infinity sin z by z whole square into dz. So what we are doing here, all the terms of theta can be converted into z, and we are substituting all the limit values, we are changing the limit values, and we are changing the r theta values with respect to in the terms of z, and after that if it is array is very large, then this n by n beta d value is very large. That's why we are substituting in place of n beta d, we are substituting infinite. So u naught is equals to minus 1 by n beta d into integration of plus to minus. Now what we are changing, we are interchanging the integral terms, then this minus can be is gone. So it is minus infinity to plus infinity sin z by z whole square dz. So from the integration formula, we know that integration of minus infinity to plus infinity sin z by z whole square dz is equals to pi. So this is the integration formula. So you substitute that value here in this average power integration, that is u naught is equals to pi by n beta d. So this is the average power density for a broadside array. Broadside array. Now we have to find out the directivity. So directivity is equals to U max by U naught or U average. So we know the average value and we know the maximum value in 90 degrees, that is 1. So your GD max is equals to, you substitute U max value is equal to 1 and substitute this value, that is pi by n beta d. So from this, that is n beta d by pi. But we know that beta is equals to 2 pi by lambda and substitute the value here. So here n into 2 pi by lambda into d by pi. So that pi gets cancelled and this becomes 2n d by lambda, that is 2n into d by lambda. 2n into d by lambda. But we know that length of the array is equals to number of elements into d. So you substitute in place of nd, you substitute L. So this becomes 2 into L by lambda. So that is the length of the array. Length of the array. If you had L is equal to 10 elements, so 2 into 10 by lambda, that is 20 by lambda is your directivity of your antenna in the broadside case. So this is the radiation pattern of a broadside array. Radiation pattern of a broadside array. So here for different lengths they are given. So one is this dark length shows. So there are one thick line is there, one dotted lines are there. So these are the thick lines. So this is the thick line and this is the dotted line. This is the dotted line. For d is equal to lambda by 4. This is the radiation, maximum radiation pattern in the direction of plus 90 and minus 90. Plus 90 and the minus 90, and d is equal to lambda. You see the beam is very narrower in the direction of your maxima. So remaining all these are the side lobe levels, and this is for this is a simple graph for 10 element uniform amplitude distribution. 10 element uniform amplitude distribution for d is equal to lambda by 4 and d is equal to lambda. And this is the second direction, that is the beam, that is back lobe direction.